Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Dr. Ruth Anderson here with Enlightened World Network. We are bringing you the June forecast for 2021. I'm really curious to see what's in store for us this month. We have our EWN numerologist Michele Landers and astrologist Maya White. Ladies, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Ruth.
Good
Thank you for
morning.
having us.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Always a pleasure to be on every month. Yeah.
Absolutely. Michele, do you want to start us off?
Oh, yeah. It's June has kind of started off with a bang. And one of the reasons for that is because June is numerologically for the world an 11/2 month. And what does that mean? 11 is a master number. Okay. So part of the energy this month for the world is 5, 6, 11, and 2. So we already know that the number for the world is 5, but how does that interact with the month numbers for June of 6 as well as 11 and 2? So 5 is above all change. So what's going to change in June? Well, by itself, June is a 6-month, and that has the energy of home, family, domestic issues. And then we have the 11, the master number, which represents surprise happenings, as well as the 2, which is about patience and cooperation. So I kind of feel like June is a turning point in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways I feel absolutely has to do with COVID. And I think we're witnessing that, more people are out and about, things are opening up. But you have to watch the 11 too, because on one hand, it's like, yes, it's wonderful and enlightening and can bring wonderful surprises. And then it can bring startling surprises as well. So that definitely is part of the month energy. So because there is a heavy emphasis on COVID and also how it's been affecting relationships. And so there'll be a lot of relationships energy going on this month. And we're kind of trying to tie up a lot of loose ends. And although we may feel like we want to sprint ahead, it's really important this month to have patience and cooperation and communication. And we really need to focus on others. So that is, the world coming, you can kind of imagine it like we've been separated for such a long time. And 6 is really a month of pulling all that together. And it can be a month of a more peaceful environment, but punctuated by a lot of surprise happenings and even upheavals. But the upheaval part, I think, has a lot to do with weather as well as, uprisings or surprise happenings like that. But I definitely think it has a lot to do with weather. And so what does that mean, though, for the United States? Because I always add the United States in here. So the United States is, interestingly enough, in a 4 personal month within the 7 personal year. So that is a really interesting combination as well, because it's 7, 6, and 4, and it's kind of a crazy combination. So it's a month of us getting back to work. So more businesses being open, more people getting back to work for sure. But it's also really a 13-4 month. And what that means in numerological terms is that's the 13 is karmic, but it also represents transformation. And so then the question is, well, what's being transformed? So in a lot of ways, we are all being transformed. This is a very heavy duty month in a lot of different respects. So in some ways, we're going to feel restricted, like we want to get going and want to do things. And although things are really, really opening up, we feel like there's some obstacles that we have to overcome. So a lot of the energy is also focused on rebuilding the American workforce and businesses. But I also think a lot of that rebuilding is going on in the tech center. So, the technological end. So although there are a lot of obstacles we still have to overcome, we are definite. When I say it's a turning point, we're headed in the right direction. So we all might feel in this under this energy that a lot is demanded from us, or we might feel a little bit restricted. But in the end, it's going to lead to an opening up of the country and of the world. So we're going to start interacting again. And within that, remember, a lot of people have been, in a sense, more introverted. And now we have to switch that again and feel what it likes to be back in with people and the social environment and interacting, and businesses. People are possibly thinking of changing businesses, or what's that going to be like to go back into the workforce when I've been home for so long. And that could be, hey, I like being at home. I like doing my work from home. And some businesses are asking, hey, no, we want you to come back. So that's the energy, but it is a turning point. There's a lot of new energy coming in. So we can expect workforce, more people getting together, but also some upheavals in some areas, especially weather. And we just have to kind of have patience and a lot of cooperation this month, a lot. So that's kind of the overview of the numerologies. So what are you saying or seeing, Maya?
So, in a way, I would say what I see is similar, but also with the astrology, it's somewhat different. The first thing I would say is that I really see this as a, well, it's a typical Mercury retrograde month. We'll leave it like that. Mercury retrograde means review, refine, readjust, reevaluate, all of the RE words. So we have Mercury retrograde until the 22nd of June.
Wow.
And it's retrograde in the sign of Gemini, which is its ruling, Mercury is the ruler of the sign of Gemini. So it has extra strength and dignity. It has like more power. It's like, wow, I'm at my home. I can do whatever I want. So we have, let's say, I wouldn't call it a rogue Mercury retrograde, but I would call it a fun Mercury retrograde, where Mercury, the trickster, is enjoying him or herself. So for that, number one, I think it's kind of a good month to, kind of play it cool. I would not make any major financial decisions this month, or honestly, even major commitments. The other thing that's going on, and this is really a trend for the month, is there are a lot of what's called planetary inconjunct. The inconjunct.
I'm going to interrupt you for just a minute. We're getting a lot of feedback, I think, from yours. Do you perchance have Facebook open on another page?
Oh, let me check. Let's see if I do.
Because part of the time we get the feedback and part of the time we don't, which is
okay.
Sort of.
Is that better? I did close Facebook.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, I've never had that happen before. So anyway, the inconjunct, the planetary inconjunct is, it's an aspect that requires adjustment. It's like things aren't necessarily straightforward. You kind of have to read between the lines, and you have to really think about, what does this other person really want versus what are they saying they want. So it requires some thought, and you have to maybe, well, not maybe, but you have to respond in a way that you might not have had to before. That might not be your natural way to respond, but it makes sense. So adjustment, I would say, really is a key word for the whole month. Beyond that, we have 3 planets that are changing signs. Venus enters Cancer on June 2nd. Mars enters Leo on June 11th. And then, of course, the sun enters Cancer on the solstice, the 20th. And then Venus moves right through the sign of Cancer and it enters Leo on the 22nd. Plus, we have Jupiter stations retrograde on the 20th. Mercury, we know, is going to station direct on the 22nd. Neptune stations retrograde on the 25th. So, translated again, it's a bit of a overall, this idea of an inconjunct month. You're going to have to, I describe the inconjunct as trying to keep your balance on a 3-legged stool. You're adjusting your weight, your focus, and big picture, remember Mercury's retrograde. There's some other things too that I'll talk about, but Michele, how does that fit with your prediction?
Well, that really does fit, because even though I didn't use the word, I don't think, adjustment, but it really, in essence, yeah, it's adjustment, because it's changes. We're going through a lot of changes and a lot of restrictive feelings. And did you say anything about feeling restricted in some ways? Or that wasn't part of your?
I would, well, and then the other thing I forgot to mention, is we have Uranus square Saturn on the, I think on the 14th. Yeah, that's it's a kind of a restriction, but again, a restriction requiring thought. So, restriction, but uncertainty.
Right. Right. And uncertainty for me, the
what does that mean? Restriction requiring a thought. Can you explain that phrase?
Like, think your way through it, right? So here's a situation where, okay, I was doing XYZ before and it was working out, and now I can't do it. So I'm not going to necessarily accept the fact that I can't do it. I'm going to do it a different way.
Okay, got it.
And figure,
that is definitely the definitely part of the energy for sure. It's well, maybe I did say the word readjusting to a new way of being. It's kind of more in full bloom this month, because again, we spent a year in a different type of restrictive environment. And now we're getting out more and more people are interacting, but we're entering into this new way of being with some baggage that came from 2020, and a readjustment of our thinking and the way we do things. And, as I said, we want to get busy. We want to get back to the way things were, or the interaction of people and socialization, but it's not going to be that way. I mean, things have changed for sure. And so for this month, there's just all of this energy coming forth, and it's kind of shaking things up a bit. And that's where the 11-2 comes in. So there's a lot happening this month.
So would you describe it, Michele, as maybe kind of like we're really adjusting, we're fine-tuning our new reality?
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And I do see, though, that's a surprise happening. So things coming out, out of the blue. That has to do with weather. And unfortunately, the other part can be some challenging situations, again, because there's so much energy out there, and there are people that still have some anger, maybe, if that's the word, but just so I'm just feeling all of this energy coming up to the surface and kind of overflowing. And some of it is great, and some of it is crazy. So that's kind of,
I agree.
Yeah.
So like, for example, Mars in Leo, which Mars enters Leo on June 11th, right? So we've had Mars in Cancer. Last year, for much of 2020, we had Mars in Aries. Now, again, Aries is the ruling domicile for Mars. That's like, Mars is, I'm at my home. I can do whatever I want. Here we go. And look what we had happen. You know, we had certainly some aggressive, you know, Mars ruled actions, Mars in Aries, people taking justice into their own hands and doing, you know, what they thought was right, but yet, you know, pioneering in the nature of Aries. So for about the past 2 months, Aries has been in the sign of Cancer. Aries in Cancer is going to be, one of the qualities would be a love of the homeland, like whoever you are and for whatever your reasons are, like I love my home, I love my country, I love my nation, even, you know, and then again, maybe say internationalism, or I want to work on my house, right? Mars in Cancer. I want to improve my family relationships. Mars is entering Leo. Leo is a fire sign. Mars is a fiery planet. So again, Mars is going to like ignite. He's going to light up. He's going to catch on fire again. And Mars in Leo, Leo is the look at me sign. You know, I can shine. I shine well. But so we do have that happening, and that is definitely a change. You know, it's a change of let's say tone, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And that's exactly what the numbers are indicating. So lots of energy, lots of people wanting to get going, lots of people saying, okay, you know, things have really changed. I want to get out there and interact with everyone. And then all of these things pop up, you know, to deal with. But it's definitely a new energy and a more exciting energy. And I keep comparing it to something that's like overflowing, and some of it is really great and some of it is kind of challenging. And it'll be interesting next month because the United States changes at its birthday in July. It'll be another it's another change, but I'm trying, how do I explain it? It's another year, it's a year-long transit that's happening within the transit. The birthday transit for July for the United States is a long-term transit along with the yearly transit. So that'll be interesting to see. But right now we're talking about June. So I guess the best way to get through June is to think things through, have patience, and pay attention to the home front as well, you know, things around the home on a personal level, and cooperate. That's, I think those are some of the key words. What do you think, Maya?
Absolutely. And then of course there is another event that I have not mentioned yet, is that on July 10th, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Gemini. And it is on that day, not only is it's a new moon eclipse, so the sun and the moon are united, they're at 19 degrees of Gemini. Sun is conjunct Mercury on that day. So here we have this Mercury retrograde. This is the day that, you know, that it meets with Mercury. And I think I talked last week about why eclipses are important. Did I? Would you refresh my memory if I spoke about why eclipses are important?
I don't
know.
think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
well, let's put it this way. I don't remember. Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember if I did or not. Eclipses are important because an eclipse involves what is called the lunar node, NODE. the nodes in astrology are a mathematically calculated point that reflects the sun and the moon and the earth. So it's those three entities in the nodes traditionally used in astrology. There are other nodes, there's planetary nodes, etc. But when you talk about the north or south node, it would be assuming that it's the sun and the moon and the earth. So if you think about it, what's more integral to our existence on the earth than our relationship between the sun and the moon and the earth? I mean, to me, those are the three most important critical things. This is why, you know, it's a reflection of here we are living on the earth. So when there's an eclipse, the nodes are involved. There cannot be an eclipse unless the north or south node is standing nearby. This is part of how and why ancient astrologers were able to predict eclipses like long ago. They've been able, you know, for thousands of years have been able to predict eclipses. And in fact, ancient rulers would use this to their advantage in warfare, because can you imagine if you were like a warlord and you knew that on a certain day the sun was going to be taken out of the sky, and everybody at that time would be freaking out? That gave them great power and control.
Wow.
So having the eclipses here, to me, is really like, this is about our soul. It's about our evolution. This is about, you know, grounding onto the body and face of the earth. This is why we're here. Eclipses also act as like a vortex or a focal point, like that energy of the sun and the moon gets as if it were put through a funnel. So it's enhanced. So anyway, eclipses, that's why they're energetically, they're a big deal. So here we have this new moon solar eclipse in Gemini, conjunct Mercury while retrograde. My takeaway from this is that it enhances, I'm going to call it the name it and claim it ability of us, that indeed we are becoming more able, more developed as humans to see instant manifestations, to name our reality, to say, to speak what we want. This is the power of Gemini and Mercury. Human speech, writing, understanding.
Wow, right. And a lot more can be said about that, right? Our ability to manifest in this world, for sure.
Yeah.
A lot. So that's great, Maya. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing that about the eclipse. And you did mention it before. I just didn't remember exactly the importance of it, you know, why it's so important. So that's it for me as far as our June numerology. I hope that was helpful and shed some light on what we can expect for this month, as well as Maya, which you always contribute some rich information. And that's wonderful. So thank you, Ruth.
And so, ladies, this was so interesting. A couple things really stood out to me. Michelle, you were talking about the patience and cooperation, communication, focus on others, and coming out of our shell a little bit. And think of how many people are traveling this month.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Right. That's right.
That's huge. And then you were talking, Maya, about name it and claim it and the coming home and the importance of the home front. And I think it's really interesting if you've been following what's happening with sightings of UFOs and how the government is changing. They're not UFOs anymore. They're now UAPs and unidentified aerial phenomena, and how they're preparing to bring out some documents that have been hidden to us in the past. And you put all of that with the filter of everything that you both were saying about June. And I I could see us next month coming together and going, holy cow,
Look what happened. Well, in the beginning of the year, if we have any of those old recordings, we spoke of this definitely, to me, numerologically, was going to be a year before anything came out that we were going to hear about aliens. I thought that was a strong possibility. And I talked about that in January. So when things started coming out, I thought, wow, that really is amazing. It really is. And yeah, I agree. So they're dripping. We're getting dripped with it right now to prepare us, you know? So that'll be interesting. Very interesting.
Right. So I guess we'll find out in a month.
Yeah, we will.
We'll come back and visit the conversation. I love that. Michele and Maya, thank you so very much for being here today. Appreciate it a great deal. So I hope you both have a fabulous month, and we'll come back together on July 1st.
Great. Thank you, Ruth. Happy month, everyone.
See you then.
Hey, June.
Happy month.